Titanic 1997. 84 years later, a 100-year-old woman named Rose Dewey tells the story to her granddaughter on the Kilders about her life set in April 10, 1912. On a ship called Titanic, when young Rose boarded the departing ship with the upper-class passenger and her mother Ruth Dewey and her fiancé Keldon. Meanwhile, a drifter and artist named Jack Dawson and his best friend Fabrizio win third-class ticket to the ship in a game. And she explained the whole story from departure until the death of Titanic on its first and last voyage, April 15, 1912 at 2:20 in the morning. The scene set in 1912. The whole movie except the present day scenes and the opening and ending credits have a total length of 2 hours and 40 minutes, the exact time it took for Titanic to sink. Also, the collision with the iceberg reportedly lasted 37 seconds, which is how long the collision scene is in the movie. Piaggio Celebrity presents top 15 movies like Titanic. Number 15. Atonement 2007. When Brian Tellis, 13 years old and an aspiring writer, sees her older sister Cecilia and Robbie Turner at the fountain in front of the family estate, she misinterprets what is happening, thus setting into motion a series of misunderstandings and a childish pique that will have lasting repercussions for all of them. Robbie is the son of a family servant toward whom the family has always been kind. They paid for his time at Cambridge and now he planned on going to medical school. After the fountain incident, Bryony reads a letter intended for Cecilia and concludes that Robbie is a deviant. When her cousin Lola is raped, she tells the police that it was Robbie she saw committing the deed. Number 14. Les Miserables 2012. Based on the novel by Victor Hugo, Les Miserables travel with prisoner on parole, John Valjean, as he runs from the ruthless Inspector Javert on a journey beyond the barricade at the center of the June Rebellion. Meanwhile, the life of a working class girl with a child is a turning point as she turns to prostitution to pay money to the evil innkeeper and his wife, who look after her child Cosette. While John promises to take care of the child, eventually leads to a love triangle between Cosette, Marius, who is a student of the rebellion, and Eponine, a girl of the streets. The people sing of their anger and Enjolras lead the student to fight upon the barricades. Anne Hathaway actually allowed her hair to be cut very short for the scene where Fantine hair is cut. Her male hairdresser was put in a dress to double as the hair cutting woman, actually cutting Hathaway's hair on set. Number 13. Moulin Rouge 2001. The year is 1899. And Christian, a young English writer, has come to Paris to follow the Bohemian Revolution, taking hold of the city's drug and prostitute-infested underworld. And nowhere is the thrill of the underworld more alive than at the Moulin Rouge, a nightclub where the rich and poor men alike come to be entertained by the dancers. But things take a wicked turn for Christian as he starts a deadly love affair with the star courtesan of the club, Satine. But her affections are also coveted by the club's patron, the Duke. A dangerous love triangle ensues as Satine and Christian attempt to fight all odds to stay together, but a force that not even love can conquer is taking its toll on Satine. Filming was halted for 2 weeks in November 1999 after Nicole Kidman fractured 2 ribs and injured her knee while rehearsing a dance routine for the film. Number 12. Sweet November 2001. The story centers around a man and a woman whose fates are intertwined and will change forever. Nelson is an avid advertiser living in San Francisco. One day during a driving test, he meets Sarah, a beautiful but seemingly eccentric woman. but she is falsely accused of cheating and ends up failing the test because of Nelson. After getting kicked out of the exam, Sarah waits for him outside and starts to insult him. However, Nelson ignores her and takes off. Then she traces him down and shows up at his place. She promises to leave him alone only if he gives her a ride. Later that night, she asks him to live with her throughout November on the promise that his life will change for the better. He turns her down, saying that he has a girlfriend. Number 11. The English Patient, 1996. October 1944 in war-torn Italy. Hannah, a French-Canadian nurse working in a mobile army medical unit, feels like everything she loves in life dies on her. Because of the difficulty traveling and the danger, especially as the landscape is still heavily booby-trapped with mines, Hannah volunteers to stay behind at a church to care solely for a dying, semi-amnesiac patient who is badly burned and disfigured. She agrees to catch up to the rest of the unit after he dies. All the patient remembers is that he is English and that he is married. Their solitude is disrupted with the arrival at the church of fellow Canadian David, part of the intelligence service, who is certain that he knows the patient as a man who cooperated with the Germans. David believes that the patient's memory is largely intact and that he is running away from his past, in part or in its entirety. Number 10. Gone with the Wind, 1939. In the face of the imminent US Civil War, the pampered socialite and petulant Southern Belle Scarlett O'Hara basks in the limelight, enjoying a lavish lifestyle. Knowing that the rich and the red-hued soil of Terra, the ancestral cotton plantation in Georgia, is the only thing worth fighting for, the resilient woman will do everything in her power to control her destiny, including marrying the wrong man to maintain her enviable social status. However, death seems to follow Scarlett, and as she swears never to be poor again, standing on the sparkling ashes of her beloved but burned to the ground home, the cynical playboy Red Butler offers a way out and a new lease of life. Headstrong, passionate, and above all, resolute, not even war or death can stand in Scarlett's way. Nevertheless, love is delicate and elusive, and somehow it is always one step ahead of her. Number 9. Ghost, 1990. Sam Witt is a bank executive who has moved in with his girlfriend Molly. One night, while out on a date, a man comes out of nowhere and pulls out a gun and demands Sam's wallet. Sam was about to give it to him when a scuffle broke out and Sam was killed. But Sam's spirit remains on earth and is walking around and encounters other spirits who tell him about his transformation. Sam hangs around Molly despite her not knowing he is watching over her. One day the man who killed him breaks into the apartment and Sam stops him before he could do anything to Molly. Sam follows him and discovers where he lives, but unfortunately can't tell anyone. Sam then meets a supposed psychic, Audrey Brown, who is so obviously a huckster, but who doesn't know that she can hear the dead, so when Sam speaks, she hears him. Number 8. Pearl Harbor, 2001. Ralph and Danny are best friends who are also pilots. When World War II breaks out in Europe, America chooses not to join, but they train nonetheless, so Ralph and Danny join the Army Air Corps. Ralph falls for a nurse named Evelyn, but when he gets the opportunity to join the British Air Corps, he jumps at it. Shortly after he leaves, he gets shot down and is reported killed. Danny and Evelyn, stationed in Pearl Harbor, lean on each other after learning this tragic news. But suddenly Ralph returns, and when he finds out about them, he freaks out and goes after Danny. But suddenly Pearl Harbor is attacked and they shoot down some planes attacking them. Roosevelt decides to retaliate against Japan, and Colonel Doolittle is placed in charge and asks Ralph and Danny to join him. Number 7. Romeo and Juliet 1996. The classic story of Romeo and Juliet set in a modern-day city of Verona Beach. The Montagues and Capulet are two feuding families whose children meet and fall in love. They have to hide their love from the world because they know that their parents will not allow them to be together. There are obstacles on the way, like Juliet's cousin Tybalt and Romeo's friend Mercutio, and many fights. But although it is set in modern times, it is still the same timeless story of the star-crossed lovers. Leonardo DiCaprio's version of Romeo's speech at Juliet's bier was so good that it moved Claire Danes to tears, nearly ruining the scene. The moment the director yelled "cut," Dan smacked DiCaprio on the arm and said, "Don't make me cry. I'm supposed to be comatose here." Number 6. The Time Traveler's Wife 2009. When a young man and woman meet for what on the surface seems like the first time in the Chicago library where he works, she, artist Claire, knows that they have met several times over the course of her life, last when she was 18, while he, Henry, who doesn't have that recollection, knows that her assertion of them having met can be true, as he, since he was 6 years old, has been able to travel through time, albeit involuntarily, and the reason yet unknown, and only in his physical being without even the cloth on his back. That travel include to times and places where he can visit himself in other time periods, but each version of himself only knowing what that version has seen or experienced, which is why this version of Henry has no recollection of Claire. Number 5. A Night to Remember 1958. Reasonably accurate account of the sinking on April 14, 1912 of the RMS Titanic, the luxury ocean liner that struck an iceberg in the North Atlantic on its maiden voyage. The ship was the height of luxury, certainly by those traveling in first class, and was widely reputed to be unsinkable. The film focuses mostly on the ship itself and the issue faced by Captain Smith, his crew and the passengers. The ship carried only enough lifeboats for half of the passenger and crew, but even at that little more than a third of them survived. The film also recounts the activity on the Carpathia, which sailed to the survivors' rescue, and the California, which failed to recognize their distress signal. Number 4. A Walk to Remember 2002. In North Carolina, especially in Beaufort, a prank on a guy goes wrong and puts the student in the clinic. Carter, a famous student with no plan for the future, is held responsible and forced to join in after-school community service activity as consequences, which includes starring as the lead in the play. And participating in this activity is Jamie Sullivan, the Reverend's daughter, who has great ambition and nothing in common with Landon. When Landon decides he wants to take his activity seriously, he asks Jamie for help and begins to spend most of his time with her. But he starts to like her that he did not expect to do. Number 3. P.S. I Love You 2007. Holly Kennedy is beautiful, smart and married to the love of her life, a passionate, funny and impetuous Irishman named Gary. So when Gary's life is taken by an illness, it takes the life out of Holly. The only one who can help her is the person who is no longer there. Nobody knows Holly better than Gary, so it's a good thing he planned ahead. Before he died, Gary wrote Holly a series of letters that will guide her, not only through her grief, but in rediscovering herself. The first message arrived on Holly's 30th birthday in the form of a cake, and to her utter shock, a tape recording from Gary, who proceeded to tell her to get out and celebrate herself. In the week and month that follow, more letters from Gary are delivered in surprising ways, each sending her on a new adventure and each signing off in the same way, P.S. I Love You. Number 2. The Fault in Our Stars 2014. The 17-year-old Hazel Grace has lung cancer and needs to carry an oxygen tank wherever she goes. Her mother Franny encouraged her to go to a cancer support group against her will. However, when Hazel met the 18-year-old Gus, who lost part of one leg with cancer but apparently is cured, they fall in love with each other. Hazel introduces her favorite novel to Gus and tells that she dreams of having a conversation with the author, Peter Van Houten, who lives in Amsterdam, about the ending of the novel. Gus contacts him through his assistant, and Van Houten invites them to visit him in Amsterdam. They travel to the Netherlands with Franny, where Hazel will learn that Peter Van Houten is not like they expected at all. Number 1. The Notebook, 2004. In a nursing home, resident Duke reads a romance story to an old woman who has senile dementia with memory loss. In the late 1930s, wealthy 17-year-old Ellie Hamilton is spending summer vacation in Seabrook. Local worker Noah Calhoun meets Ellie at a carnival and they soon fall in love with each other. One day, Noah brings Ellie to an ancient house that he dreams of buying and restoring, and they attempt to make love but get interrupted by their friend. Ellie's parents do not approve of their romance since Noah belongs to another social class and they move to New York with her. Noah writes 365 letters to Ellie, but her mother Anne Hamilton does not deliver them to her daughter. 3 years later, the United States joined the World War II, and Noah and his best friend Finn enlist in the army, and Ellie works as an army nurse. She meets injured soldier Lon Hammond in the hospital. After the war, they meet each other again, going on dates, and then Lon, who is wealthy and handsome, proposes.